Right, welcome back to Tales from the PowerAge. How are you doing, guys? You good?
Good, cheers.
Good, mate.
Yeah, everyone good. Right, welcome back. Tonight we are talking about Guns N' Roses and the Use Your Illusion tour 1 and 2, but we are predominantly going to focus on 1, and one night in particular. That was Saturday the 31st of August 1991 at the mighty Wembley Stadium. But before we do that, please give us a subscribe, give us a like, tell us if you were there, tell us your memories from that gig if you were there, because quite a bit happened in this gig, and there's some famous events that surround the whole, not only the tour, but this gig in particular. So let's kick off with the singles first, Gav, if that's all right.
Yeah, so these are the some came out before the album, which I think were the first two. One was a movie soundtrack edition, which was Days of Thunder, and then I'm pretty sure that You Can Be Mine came out before the album, didn't it?
Yeah,
and God, set us in an excited mode, because that's a cracking song, a cracking film as well. And then you can see for yourself what we got up there. So this was probably a 2 or 3 year period that these all came out. So it's not kind of same as Hysteria, really. So it's not kind of banging them out every few weeks. They're over time. And I think the ones that really resonated were You Could Be Mine, Live and Let Die, and then probably November Rain, would you say, were the biggest?
Yeah, I reckon.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said, that You Could Be Mine really whetted our appetites, didn't it? We all knew Knocking on Heaven's Door. We'd seen it and heard it a lot from GNR, but that one especially really set us ready for the record.
Yeah, and also this was the period where it was more kind of CD single than vinyl. The vinyl was kind of fading out by then. They still did the kind of, actually, Dale, I'll big you up so we can see that.
Yeah.
It's really nice, isn't it? That?
It is nice, yeah. So what's that? Let's Live and Let Die.
Yeah, Let's Live and Let Die. What's good about this, of course, is the B-side is live from Wembley Stadium on the 31st of August 1991. So,
All right, cool.
yeah, you can probably hear me in that crowd somewhere.
Well, it's the same song on both sides.
It's Live and Let Die, the album version on one side, and then the live version, live from Wembley, on the other side.
You got any other singles to show while you're there?
I've just got a couple of 12 inches. Gav, yesterday's. This was from '92, and this is a picture disc as well.
Yeah,
quite nice.
I saw that. Yeah.
And it's got November Rain on the B side, and yesterday's live from Las Vegas on the B side, which is quite cool. And then this one, Knocking on Heaven's Door, which is the Freddie Mercury tribute.
Yeah, cool.
It's quite good.
Very nice. Fundraiser.
Yeah, that's probably something you'd be quite keen on, Gav, that one, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. If you come across fair, I'll have that.
I'll keep an eye on that. Okay, good. So
yeah, I mentioned that because I think by the time we get to the last one, Civil War, I don't think that was a 12-inch. I think that's a CD single.
Yeah, you're probably right. Do you know what? I used to have You Could Be Mine. I don't know where that's gone. I've been searching through my records. I can't find it. But that was a great single. We'll touch on that when we go through the album. So do you want to go on to the album then, Gavin? It was released. So this was released on September the 17th, 1991. The tour had already been going by that point. To put a little bit of context on the album, this was really the first proper release since Appetite for Destruction. So
yeah, we had
they released a sort of mini album. That's right, Lies. And Gav has got the. If you just turn that around again, Gav, you've got the original with the hype sticker on, which I've got too, which is. Again, it's pretty rare now, so you'd be lucky to pick that up for less than £100. And there's an interesting inner cover on that one as well,
which I can't show on YouTube.
No,
but we said on a previous pod,
is it a bit risque?
Yeah, there's a lady in a state of undress.
But
there's loads of different versions of this cover, so there's probably a Wikipedia page on it, but I won't bore you with it. But you can tell which version. The first press or whatever by the headlines, because they were mucking around with the headlines and making them less dodgy. So yeah, it's definitely a first press.
And there's a song that caused and still causes quite a bit of controversy in there called 1 in a Million, and we'll touch on that a little bit later because that was quite a big story in the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in '92 or leading up to that for sure. So let's have a chat around the albums then. Gaps, any thoughts, any pull-outs from the album?
Well, pull-outs from both albums for me. I must just touch on the fact that when they came out, did we say did they come out on the same day?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, they did. I thought they did. Naz, one of our great friends from school and in future life, he bought both albums on the day they came out and bought them around my house. We were pretty disappointed, to be fair, back in the day, in 91, when we were 21 years old, having been massive GNR fans and seen them at Donington, and Appetite was amazing, and then you got some slightly different songs, but having listened to both of these recently, I think these stand the test of time. I think they're two great, fantastic albums, all put together. I mean, I know there's 29 songs or something ridiculous, something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
You can count them up if you like, but some of the songs on these two are absolutely brilliant. You got Breakdown, you got Civil War, which is one of the greatest songs I've ever done. So Fine is superb. Get in the Ring is brilliant with Axl's rant in the middle. And you've got Don't Cry on both albums, which is quite strange, but we've got alternative lyrics on the second one. You got 14 Years with Izzy Stradlin doing the vocal, and So Fine, which is one of my favourite songs with Duff doing the vocals, and that is just a fantastic song, absolutely brilliant. But one of the standouts for me on the first album is The Garden, which is a real psychedelic, rambling song, but absolutely brilliant with some of Slash's best guitar work on it. And Coma at the end, put a 10-minute song at the end of a 15-track album. Yeah, Coma is so good, absolutely brilliant.
Okay, cool, excellent. Jam, any thoughts on the
offering?
At the
time, it was madness, wasn't it? At the time, we were like, right, what's the actual? How are they going to follow up with the greatest debut album of all time, arguably? Appetite.
Yeah.
And when they was like, okay, it's going to be 2 albums. They're going to be on the same day. There were people, you've got constraints cash-wise at this point. I know I did, and it was like, which one do you buy first? And if I remember rightly, didn't the charts?
Can I just say?
Yeah,
I was at uni. I think I was the only one at uni not working, and I still managed to purchase them.
Yeah, but for those of us that actually perhaps went out a bit more, partied a bit harder, I don't believe anyone went out and partied any harder than you. But didn't charts-wise, Use Your Illusion 2 hit the top spot, and Use Your Illusion 1 was second, which was interesting at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 2 was the number 1, and 1
could have been
We'll have to check that out. But anyway, 2 brand new records. One was 75 minutes, one was 76 minutes. Struth, Gaps, your session with Zan there was over 2.5 hours.
I know, it's mental.
Of these 2 records.
Appropriately named Coma.
Yeah. Thanks, Gav, for your talk. Because I'm like, that's a lot of. I'm a great advocate of a 45-minute record.
Yeah.
I used to love to fit a record on one side of a C90 tape. I mean, any of you viewers everyone knows that. But you put one record on one side of a C90 tape and one record on the other. It made life a lot easier. And that's for me, that's the length of an album. So this was quite a lot to dive up to listen to. But there's some massive records. I prefer 2. Perhaps that's why I went to number 1 in the charts. My favourites on the Get in the Ring, Shotgun Blues, and as I just said before, You Can Be Mine. I would place on any Guns N' Roses. That would have made it onto Appetite. And there's not many songs, I think, that could have made it onto Appetite for Destruction, because it's such a great album. But that, for me, is one of their all-time greats. And the marketing-wise, to bring that out when they did, with a massive film at the time, because Terminator was massive, wasn't it? It was really massive.
Yeah, absolutely massive.
The marketing masterstrokes behind GNR are just fantastic. And to bring out these 2 records like I did. So, yeah, it was something different that we hadn't ever seen before. And yeah, they were my headlines, but it had a different feel for me, and we'll probably come on to that. It had a different feel to me as far as the music. It was more, perhaps more where they were comfortable being, a little bit more sleazy, a little bit more Aerosmithy, rather than full-on balls to the wall metal, which is what I always think of Appetite. Yeah,
I see Appetite as very Aerosmithy, to be honest. Yeah. And
there's a couple of Stonesy tracks on these 2 albums as well.
Yeah. probably.
I think it's more diverse, but it kind of had to be, didn't it? It's
got 2.5 hours of music, but it's ballad. There's a lot of ballad. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, Don't Cry's twice, so 5 proper ballads, and they brought them.
Bad Obsession. That's probably the most Stonesy track on this. If you listen to that, Joe, you love the Stones.
Yeah, I do. I love the Stones. I love GNR. I love rock and roll. So
yeah,
it was right up my street. So
much more diverse, I think. To stand up, it's going to have 2 long records. It's got a lot more diverse.
The thing is that Appetite hit you in the face, didn't it? Absolutely smacked you in the mouth. And this one is well, both of them. They're a bit less than that, and that's what I didn't really like back in the day. But as I say, as a 54-year-old, listening to them now, absolutely adore both of these records.
Well, that's what I think. As far as you're saying that, when we were listening to this, we were listening to Priest, Painkiller, and Pantera, some real proper metal, and then this is diversifying a bit. Whether I had those blinkers on or not, when you listen to it now, it's a lot.
I think we all did. We had definitely all had those blinkers on. Back then.
Okay, Gav, any thoughts? Any picks from the 2 albums?
Well, yeah, my main difference between these studio albums and the first studio album was the drumming. I really mourned the loss of Steven Adler because I loved his drumming on the first album, and I know that Izzy felt the same, and I think that's one of the reasons that eventually he left, because he's quoted as saying that the swing went out of the band when Matt Sorum joined. But obviously, if Adler can't play, he can't play. So I don't blame them for recruiting a very solid drummer like Matt. But I do think they probably could have found someone with a bit more groove, a bit more swing. Because I notice it as a drummer. I notice he's quite stiff, and so many repetitive drum fills, which nobody else needs to give a toss about. I know that. But when you hear November Rain and it's the same damn drum fill all the way through, I can't listen to it. It kills me. But having said that, I love the production. I think it sounds brilliant, and it's the same guys that did the first album, wasn't it? So
Mike Pink.
Production is amazing.
Yeah,
and that doesn't date either for an album of this age.
No way.
It does sound great. I just think it's predictable, but I think I would have preferred a best of these 2 albums, really, rather than chucking everything at the wall, even random stuff like My World, stuff that we've already had, covers. I think it could have been toned down. I didn't think they need to give us everything, especially as we had to wait 2 or 3 years for it.
Well, it was longer than that, wasn't it? Because 4 years from if you think of, but actually proper album. I know the bit in between was not really I guess a problem. This was the first proper follow-up to Appetite. So it's 4 years.
I don't know how it came together. Maybe 10 weak songs came along first, and that couldn't be the album, and then the 10 better songs came along second. So they couldn't. But if they could have put together a really strong album a year earlier, and then this one a year later.
The thing is, they brought out that what was the song they brought out a few years back when we saw them at Download Deal, which could have been on one of these 2 albums. I can't remember the name.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant song. Why wasn't it on? I can't even remember the bloody name of it. Please put it in the comments below. We saw it at Download. It came out as a video, a sort of cartoony video. It's absolutely amazing.
What, from this era?
And I can't remember the name. I can't bloody remember the name of it.
No, you're right. I can't either.
Does anyone know what's going on with the covers?
I do. I know a little bit. So, I got both albums on the day it came out, and here they are. So,
you might have mentioned it, yeah.
There's number 2, and that's what it looks like on the back. Like the T-shirt. Number 1 on the back. What's quite nice about these?
Try picking them up for under 100 quid each.
Well, I know. Look, what's nice about these? Sadly, not they weren't gatefold, but what is nice are the inners. So lots of photos, all the lyrics. Recognize that dude there in the middle? Mike Monroe.
No.
Mike Monroe on there. Bless him. Look.
All right, cool. Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't recognise him now.
There's some really funky, decent pictures with various people that they've been connecting with, etc. So remember getting it when it came out. The cover's a bit of a pop art cover. I think it's an Estonian artist called Mike Kostabi, and this is a play or a copy of Raphael's The School of Athens. So there you go. And I guess
Renaissance artiste.
Yeah, I guess the colours were very much to denote the difference in the two albums. But there's another bit with the if you've got an original first press, you'll notice there's a nice little hype sticker over here. Where are we? Over here.
Yeah.
Which this album contains language which some listeners may find objectionable. They can bleep off and find something from the New Age section, which actually, of course, when
it's fantastically funny,
great, right? Obviously, what's hard to explain to people that weren't around at that time or didn't know about the whole Guns N' Roses phenomenon, which it had been for a few years. They were probably the biggest band in the world at the time, right? They were massive, and the hype and everything else. It was almost Taylor Swift-esque if you think about all the hype that we've had last summer around that. So, yeah, amazing that these were released on the same day. I must have squirreled away every single penny to be able to buy these and get them together and purchase them. I'm glad I have now, of course, because they're worth a ton of cash. Certainly way more than I paid for them at the time. In terms of the two albums, I think there's some great records over the two. Do I pick these albums up more than I pick up Appetite? The answer to that is no. Would I pick this album up more, or these albums up more, if they were contained into one album? I think there's every chance I might. I think there's a few standouts for me right next door to how I love that record. I think it's a really good start to the first album. Dust and Bones, Live and Let Die. I mean, if there was a cover ever to be played by Guns N' Roses, Live and Let Die, brilliant. Don't Cry, Back Off Bitch, I think it's a great song. Civil War, Yesterday's, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Again, if there's another cover that should be played by Guns N' Roses, they picked the two best songs they could probably ever cover.
I agree.
I mean, me and Gap saw them 7 years ago now, mate, at Download. And
Jesus, is that long?
Yes, frightening, isn't it? And that was amazing. We were dancing away in the aisles in the field, singing away, having a great time. Get in the Ring, Knocking on Heaven's Door, which I think I've already mentioned. You Could Be Mine, November Rain, which is an amazing song, and Coma as well, which I think you've already mentioned as well, Gappy. So I think for me, if you put all of those 12 songs into one album, you might have had a more memorable album that sat alongside Appetite, in my view.
And it would have still been really long as well.
Yeah, I know, exactly. It would have been mental. Okay, so that's the album, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and I think as Jam said, it went to 1 and 2 in the charts, released on September the 17th, 91, and actually released after the Wembley Stadium gig, which was 2 weeks before that actually 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks before that, on the Saturday. So should we have a look at some of the press ads, Gav?
Yeah, so moving on to the show, it was really hard to find press ads, actually. Normally there's loads, but I literally could only find the one. So there it is, and they're going for the classic
It's bloody decent,
logo. And same on the ticket, just a regular Guns N' Roses logo on the ticket.
The ticket's cool, right? It looks brilliant.
The ticket's amazing, yeah.
I think what we were excited. I remember getting the ticket and being really excited, obviously about going, because I'd not seen GNR since '88, so that was the last time they played in the UK. So 1988 Donington Download, which they'd blown everybody away. There'd been a controversy, and if you want to know more about that gig, we've got another pod on that, so please check it out. That's Donington Monsters Rock 1988. Yep. So it was really exciting to be able to see them again 3 years later. And you have to remember, in those days, 3 years was like a lifetime when you were that age. 3 years seems nothing now. I mean, just talking a second ago, Gaps, thinking it was 70 years ago.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just mental.
Especially with the music, the actual music scene, the way it moved so quickly. It's quite something, the different genres that were being invented.
You were right. This was almost the start of it. And when we get on to some of the support acts, there's a good lead into some of that. This was almost like the curtain closing on the sort of glam sleaze that really built to such a big crescendo. Bearing in mind, these guys 4 years earlier had been playing the Marquee, and they were headlining Wembley Stadium. just insane, mental when you think of it like that.
We were just talking about this gig is the week or a few weeks before those new records were being released. One thing we didn't mention, so when we were talking about the records, is they sold. We said they got to number 1 and 2 in the charts. They sold by the bucket load. They sold a massive ton of records. I don't know what the exact numbers were. They sold multi-millions of records. So we're said about should they have done this? Well, the marketing guys and the managers, no, they sold 2 records every time they could have been selling 1. It was massive. And they hadn't even arrived yet. They hadn't even dropped yet, had they, Deal? When you guys, when they sold out 100,000 people at Wembley Stadium. It's amazing.
And I'm just trying to check the price of the ticket. We just like to look at the prices of these tickets.
£18.50.
£18.50, yeah. So that was actually quite a lot of money then for that.
That's a lot of money.
Now, again, just going back to memories and what was going on at the time, I think it was 2 weeks earlier. We'd all been on the 17th of August.
Yeah,
we'd all been to Donington Park. Just bear this in mind, right? So it was $18.50 for that at Wembley Stadium. They did have a couple of support acts, which we'll get onto in a minute. But Monsters of Rock 91, 2 weeks earlier, on the 17th of August, we had the mighty AC/DC headlining, and probably one of the greatest shows they've ever done, which has been captured on video for all of you to watch, and it's bloody brilliant. Metallica, Motley Crue. Was it Queensryche as well? And the Black Crows, I think that's who played from memory. Pretty sure that's who it was.
Yeah, I think you've got it.
Yeah, okay. And that was £22.50.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for £4 more, you had the whole day event. And I think the doors open, well, the gates open at 3 on this one. So I suppose there you go. For an extra £4, you got a full day and a couple more bands. There you go.
And that Donington was a great Donington. And I think we've done a pod on it, haven't we?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Great day.
Okay, let's move on to the merch sheet and program. I think this program was from the second. Again, let us know if it was this one is from '92, but quite glossy and stuff. And I know it's the second one because Izzy Stradlin's not in it, and we'll get to that in a bit. Okay.
If you had have got a program for that first gig, I'd have wanted to know your income sources, because you'd had Donington, you'd had this, and you went to the second one. So I'd have wanted to know what you were doing to earn those extra pennies.
You did a bit of stuff on the side.
Well, you make a very good point, and I'll just look. I will just clear that up for all of you, for all you lovely people that are watching. I was at uni at the time, but I was working. I was doing the harvest on my local village farm. Yeah. And I must say, I was working 7 days a week, which did not enable me to go out and spend any money, because I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night most evenings. And it was only when it rained I managed to get down the pub and play darts in the Red Lion. However,
it
did enable me to save up a whole pile of cash to buy records and go to gigs and just have a great time in between all of that stuff. But I had to book these dates off as holiday, of course. So I did have a little bit of holiday, and one of them was Monsters of Rock, and the other one was this one. So that's where my hard-earned cash was.
I did recall that. I didn't know if you were going to divulge your source, but you used to work your socks. Yeah, that's hard.
And if you ever come and see it, if you see us out at a gig, ask about the trailer that got burnt, and that's another story which was all part of that farming experience. But anyway, we digress.
To be fair, this is one of the gigs that I would really have loved to have gone to as well. Couldn't afford it at the time.
One of the things. Oh, it was great. Look, one of the things I remember was the weather being amazing, and it always elevates any concert for anyone that goes to an outdoor gig. And of course, the old Wembley, most people were on the pitch. It was unreserved, wasn't it? That sort of lower tier pitch, you could just go and stand and sit wherever you wanted. It was brilliant. When you
look back at the big stadium gigs that we did back then in the 80s and the 90s, Wembley Stadium was just so good. It was great for us for travel, because we weren't far from Wembley. It was great, but it was so easy, wasn't it, to have a beer and to enjoy the bands and to go near the front or go back. It really was superb, really great. We had some great times, didn't we?
We did, yeah. So I've got, I think, and again, please let us know in the comments, this was 9 Inch Nails' first ever gig in the UK. I couldn't find anything that said they did a warm-up show. Quite often with these sorts of things, there's a warm-up show at the marquee or warm-up show in, you know, the Astoria or somewhere like that. I don't know. If they did, please let us know. I hadn't really heard about Nine Inch Nails until the gig, and there's the original album. Nice little inner there, which is quite nice. And this is another one. If again, with lots of these records from that time, if you look at that, what cool is that? It's immense, isn't it? If you on the original label, if you manage to pick some of these up, these are worth a fair bit of cash. Now, I was blown away by them. I thought they were great. The song "Head Like a Hole," I'd never heard of industrial metal before until Nine Inch Nails, and it was very different, right? So I think to Gav and Jam's point, that metal was changing, and there were different genres starting to. I mean, look, he certainly hasn't got long blonde hair and makeup on and cowboy boots, has he? So things were changing, right? And these were great. I mean, this fitted me in my university days down to a T. Was very proud going back to uni with this record, saying, you know, these
don't you think it was a bit of a strange fit for the GNR show, though?
I do, yeah, I do. But then when you think back to the time gaps and the types of bands that were starting to appear, you know, like Soundgarden and you know, and some of the other bands, yeah, maybe it was, but they were good. They were really good live and good enough for me to go and get the record. So again, if you can find that in a record fair, I'll get it. But I haven't really got much else to comment on that apart from I enjoyed them on the night.
Well, it's good that they went down well. It proves the crowd were open-minded.
Yeah.
Well, it makes the bill to it opens the bill up to me. I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago. I met with a guy and I was chatting to him about metal, funnily enough. And I was talking to him about Guns N' Roses and he said, "Oh, I saw them not. This was his very first gig." And he went along. He didn't know Nine Inch Nails. They blew him away, and they became one of his favorite bands of all time. And he very much veers on the gappy side of metal, as I'd always call it. He likes a lot of Scandinavian thrash metal and stuff and loved them. But as far as for me, that bill, putting these on and having that end, then Skid Row, who we're going to come on to in a minute, sorry, just done the most awesome metal album. I think it's a really heavy, awesome bill, wasn't it, Dil? You must have been well chuffed.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, look, I was having the time of my life, you know. Yeah. I think I went, if I remember correctly, I think I went with Spice, Fez, Marcus Wicks, Karen. I think a whole bunch of us went. And of course, for us, where we lived at the time, Wembley was, you know, an hour away, less than an hour away on the bus. I mean, we were just having the time of our lives. You know, great weather. It was just brilliant. And yeah, I mean, such an iconic venue as well, isn't it? Wembley. I'd seen the Stones there the year before at a similar time. So yeah, it's great.
A really good pick, because when you're going to get three bands, you're not necessarily expecting them all to be decent, not being hard.
No, they were good.
But to have a big hit, you know, have a band like this, I think, yeah, they did well. They did really well in selecting, you know, curating the bill. I think they've done really well.
So, as Jam's mentioned, next on the bill, Skid Row. And this was another album I went and bought as soon as it came out with my hard-earned farming cash. And you can see the hype sticker on there too.
And another one that's going to cost you £100.
Yeah. If I knew then what I know now, I'd have been buying loads of these and everything. But there you go. Another brilliant album. There is a bit of controversy to this this set as well, and you can see it online. Skid Row were absolutely brilliant. Seb was, I mean, this band were at the top of their game at this point. Yeah. They had the whole stadium in the palm of their hands. Everyone
really did. It's amazing to watch it on YouTube.
Everyone was going absolutely nuts. It was superb. There's Jam's one as well. I mean,
that's weird though, isn't it? Did they blow Guns N' Roses off the stage, do you think?
No, well, they were brilliant, Gaps. No, I would say they didn't, because the show was so spectacular in terms of the GNR show. Not for anything less that we've been starved of GNR since '88, and it was just, you know, it was fantastic to see them back on. But these were brilliant. So the best bit about this, of course, it just looked great in daylight and the fans' reaction and everything else. So there's been quite a bit of controversy leading up to Skid Row's set, because there's a song that you might be able to see on there, 7 Down, I think it is. Is that right? So 8 Down, which they've been warned not to play by Brent Council. And what do you say to a rock band to get them to do completely the opposite.
Not what Brent Cancel did,
No,
obviously.
they probably won't read up.
No,
Not very clever.
Suffice to say, of course, they played it, effing and blinding, crowd absolutely loving it. You know, total. You know, it's the total fingers up to the world. We are the youth gone wild. We'll do whatever we like.
He pulls out the letter and reads it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He gets the bloody Brent Council letter out and reads it.
It's absolutely. Of course, everybody was roaring with laughter. They thought it was great and going, "Yeah, brilliant! This is fantastic. This is what we want." Everybody, drinking loads of booze and having a great time. Subsequently, of course, Brent Council banned Skid Row, not just from the stadium but from the arena as well. So I don't think it did them any harm. They went to Donington Monster Rock the following year, second on the bill, were they? I think. Can't remember.
Yeah, but doesn't that just for us, and people are going to watch this, just to think of the times that we were in, that Brent Council believed if they did a stuffy hoity-toity letter saying to the youth of the world, or this American band, no, you will not use a profanity, you will not say the F word, you're not allowed, you're banned from using, you mustn't use it, you may not use it, and you will not use it. Just saying it like that, you will not use it. And it's about, he's going to read that, and the boys are going to go, what? The fact he got that letter out, it's just great. I find it amazing. It's such a great song, man. It's everything about it. Just played into their hands. It just played into Skid Row's marketing boss, their managers, whatever. It's like, oh, Seb, read this. What? Hey, we're not having. It's just superb.
And by the way, Seb
no such thing as bad publicity.
Oh. No, there isn't. You're not wrong there. And of course, Seb was about the coolest guy in the world at this point. So he was just brilliant and amazing. And the crowd were just lapping it up, as you can probably appreciate. So that lined and set everything up for GNR to hit the stage for the first time in the UK in just over 3 years. So you can just imagine the anticipation. Now, I've read a couple of things. I don't remember this on the night. I think there was a delay for them coming on. That wouldn't surprise me. That's not unusual for GNR and Axl in particular. Leading up to this point, there had been the tour had been plagued, let's say, with lots of different incidents. One incident in particular at the Riverport Amphitheatre on July the 2nd in a venue near St. Louis. Axl saw someone in the crowd with a recorder filming the concert and then proceeded to jump into the crowd to fight said fan who was filming. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up, could you now? When you think about everyone in the gigs now with their phones, etc. So he attacked the guy. It resulted in the band leaving and walking off. Subsequently, then a full-scale riot, which is affectionately now known as the Riverport riot, and there were 60 injuries on the day. So that was only a couple of months before they played Wembley. You have to remember at the time this was all over the music press, it was all over the news, and they were just a dangerous band. Ones your parents wouldn't have wanted you to go and see, unless you were my parents, of course, and they thought it was great. Go and enjoy it.
But this is a time when it's just crazy, because when the appetite went back, it would take us back 3 or 4 years. Everyone wondered, how long is this going to last? How long can these people keep making this music? Because they're crazy. You know, what's going to get them? What's going to pull them apart? The drink, the drugs, the violence, everything, you know. And then there was bad stuff as well. Yeah. But as far as this is concerned, it was though, wasn't it? And it was a different thing all the time. It just followed them. Controversy followed these guys. And as you said there, as far as the drummer, I just spotted there Matt Sorum drum solo. Gav, I bet that's your dream. Have you looked that up to see what that's like?
Dun, 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 dun.
I can't remember it, Gav, so that I don't know that.
But as far as the drum itself, so yeah, it's quite something, wasn't it? But as far as the drummer, they got Matt Sorum in. Is that though, Gav, just to play devil's advocate, they needed someone that they could rely on. So I think Adler at the time had
absolutely got,
come on. But also, as far as the big stadium gigs, I mean, in my experience, you need a drummer in a stadium gig needs to literally can't be too many. Can they be too frilly? How does that work?
That's the thing, isn't it? That's the kind of
they were renting, they were hiring. Is he hired or they're getting into the band a stadium gig?
Yeah, Yeah.
So I think in Matt's defence, is that what he is?
Yeah, he is. He's much more of a simple player and much more straightforward. And that's you're right. You know, when you're in an arena or a stadium, you can't be too flashy. You know, Slayer, it was always really difficult to hear when they're in a echoey place because just because of that. You know, that's one of the reasons they slowed down, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking. Obviously, we didn't mention before, but Adler did play on Civil War, the one track on the double album, and that was the track that he struggled with to the point where they got rid of him.
Wow.
So, ironically,
but you can still tell it's him on that track rather than Matt Sorum.
Yeah. I'm glad he's got himself together again. That was touch and go. But yeah, what's interesting on this set list is which track they've picked from these forthcoming albums that they consider to be the best.
Yeah.
There's some there that are kind of weird, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love Double Talking Jive. I think that's a great song. But Dust and Bones is not one of mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But how did these go down? How did
it go? I mean, look, everyone was going nuts, Jam. So again, you have to remember it was pent up demand. I mean, look, one of the things that I think if you're looking to market a band that are big or become big, sometimes less is more. And if you leave that demand, you'll make more at 1 or 2 shows than you'll make with doing 4 or 5 shows over 3 or 4 years, if that makes sense. If you come back every single year, people, I've seen it, I've done that, I want to see someone else. And I think, I don't think they'd ever planned it to be like that. I mean, to your point around the danger, controversy and everything else, that was true. It was just, they were nuts, right? So it was, it worked in their favor. The crowd went nuts. I was really surprised they kicked off with Perfect Crime.
Yeah.
But then you go straight into Mr. Brownstone, Bad Obsession, Welcome to the Jungle, Live and Let Die, with everyone was going crazy. Dust and Bones, Civil War was amazing. Patience. That's interesting in Civil War and Patience after each other, and then You Could Be Mine, November Rain. So you've effectively got 3 slow songs, slow songs in 4, and then you're into Night Train.
Night Train, one of the best songs ever
written. You've got the guitar, drum solo, the theme from The Godfather. I don't remember that. Sweet Child of Mine, of course. 14 Years, My Michelle, another brilliantly underrated song, buried in Appetite, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Strange, and then again one of the greatest songs probably ever written.
Haven't you said before, Dill, this was Izzy's last ever show?
Yeah, so that was back to the controversy,
and he does the lead vocals in 14 Years.
Yeah, that's right. So it was his last ever show with Guns N' Roses. He was probably one of the most liked members of the band, certainly from the fan base perspective. I mean, he's a cool cat, absolutely superb. He and I've seen a couple of quotes from him. He's quite a quiet chap now. You don't hear or see much of Izzy really. He's obviously made a ton of cash, and if he's invested wisely, I'm sure he's very comfortable. But I think had enough, and by all accounts, some of the things that have been leading up to the Wembley gig, it wasn't a Wembley gig per se that had sent him over the edge. I think the riot in St. Louis, all the other, turning up late for gigs or starting late for gigs, and it was just, he just couldn't cope with it anymore. And I can understand that totally. If you think of all that paraphernalia going on around you, if he's made his money, why would you bother? If it's, it's probably stressing him out. And everybody has different tolerance levels of how they cope with this stuff, right? Yeah. So that was, whilst that was really sad, I was lucky enough to see him on his last ever gig with GNR.
Yeah, well done, mate.
And they wrapped it up with the most awesome. And they still kept Paradise City. So it's such a great entry. It's mad, isn't it? Play as many ballads as you like. If you're ending with Paradise City, you ain't going far wrong, are you? It's absolutely barking. Brilliant, brilliant. And of course, brilliant show closer, especially a massive gig like that.
Yeah. And you go home, everyone goes home happy. They're all singing on the underground, and the bus is on the way home, Paradise City. You've all got your T-shirts, your smile, your hangover from all the. I think it was Carlsberg in the day, wasn't it? He used to sell at Wembley, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it was a great gig and great memories, and one that should be remembered for the things that we've already mentioned. So that was the gig. What came next? Well, firstly, the the following year was the Freddie Mercury tribute. So there were a couple of things around this, Gav, weren't there, that which again caused a bit of controversy, funnily enough.
Yeah, they decided to pair up, or the idea was to pair up Axl with Elton John to do the finale of Bohemian Rhapsody. But there was a lot of controversy about it because of 1 in a Million, which we mentioned earlier. And so they didn't know whether he'd be paired with Elton John or what vibe that would be. But he comes out in his little cycling shorts and actually sings brilliantly with Elton, puts his arm around him at the end, and it all goes down absolutely brilliantly. But that, nobody knew that was going to be quite as well done as it was. It was really good.
There was no rehearsal, Gav, either. So that was the worry. They plugged in or arranged rehearsals for them to do this before the show, and he just didn't your Axl style, do whatever I want, whenever I want.
That's interesting, actually. I never really realised I didn't see that, because I've watched all the rehearsals. They're all online. You've got James doing Stone Cold Crazy with Queen, and Tony Iommi, and he's a pig in poo, getting the chance to do that. But yeah, you're right. I don't remember seeing them do the Bohemian Rhapsody rehearsal because there wasn't one. So yeah, that was cool. And then, as we saw on the singles and your 12-inch, they released it from a song from that concert as a fundraiser as well. So that was cool. And then still peddling the albums a year later, doing the same thing again.
Which is, I think, the one my missus went to.
Right.
That's right, the following year. And the support bands on that day, which equally continued in the vein that we were talking about, were Faith No More, who were another amazing live band, and Soundgarden. Again, Chris Cornell and the team, another amazing live band. So,
and didn't they go out with Metallica after this?
Yes.
Co-headline.
Yeah. Well, I think Metallica supported, didn't they, to be fair? I think GNR were headlining.
I don't know. I thought they swapped.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm pretty sure they were.
So they really supported these albums. They really wanted them to be, platinum or whatever the target was for the record company. And fair play, they put in the legwork to do that.
Yeah. I'm just seeing what was the price of the ticket the following year. Can you see it on there? I've got.
Freddie Mercury was 25.
Wow. Yeah. So that was. That's why I was wondering. I wonder if it had gone up any more. £21. So it was actually cheaper the following year than it was the year before.
That's mad.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah. They're both like free range tickets as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, general admission.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. General admission.
General admission. Oh, but you have to remember also then the interest rates were through the roof, so things were quite tough in this country at that time. If you remember those days.
Yeah, it was shocking.
There might be a few old geezers watching this thinking, I remember my mortgage being 15%. Anyway.
So, negative equity.
Yeah. There's us at the Rock Show.
Yeah. You think things are bad now? You should have been back in my day. And I was just thinking, Paul, please take me back to 1991, 92. What brilliant days they were. But they were brilliant days. And how lucky we were to see some of these concerts. Okay, so that was Guns N' Roses at Wembley Stadium, 1991. I hope you enjoyed that chat and reminiscence of that amazing gig and the album Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Actually, I think we've got some Guns N' Roses. We have got some Guns N' Roses on our live channel from Tottenham Hotspur. Carrie Underwood, the famous Carrie Underwood, a cappella style, not a cappella style.
I'll link it at the end. Wait till the end, people, and they'll be popping up on your screen.
Yeah, she bailed Slash out that night. She was bloody brilliant. She's absolutely superb. Anyway, check that channel out, but it's a separate channel and you need to subscribe to that one too. And there's loads of stuff on there, which if you like Guns N' Roses, you're going to like loads of stuff on there. Right, so I can assure you of that. If you want to find out a little bit more about us, we're on Facebook on Tales from the PowerAge. We're on X on Tales from the PowerAge at TTFTPR. We're on that daily, chatting away. So if you want to tell us what you think or react to some of our posts, please do. We're on BLUESKY at TFTPA. So again, we're building up a nice little following on there as well, which is great. We're also on Instagram. So check us out on there too. We're on Spreadshop for merch. So check that out because there's some really good stuff on there. And you can check us out online on www.talesfromthepowerage.com. Right.
Nice one, Dill.
This would be easier. 30 years ago. See you later. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Love you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Well done, guys.